Story 1. Table tennis. We had a table at work, so I started playing whenever I could with whoever was available. I had played a little as a kid, so I picked it back up quickly and started getting pretty good. Eventually, I began playing with one coworker fairly regularly. He was good. At first, he was clearly just volleying with me, not finishing points when he could. That made it more fun and gave me great practice. After about a year, I could beat everyone I played with ease except him. Our games escalated to long, all-out rallies, sometimes smashing the ball back and forth from about 10 feet away from the table. I even started winning some games now and then. I was ecstatic. One day, after losing a pretty heated game to me and with me feeling a little pompous about it, my coworker pulled a total Inigo Montoya on me. He flipped the paddle from his left hand, which he had consistently used when playing me, into his right hand and said, "You know I'm right-handed, right?" I did not, and I never won another game against him. Story 2. I began piano lessons at an early age of 5, and my parents and my teacher made me believe I was a fabulous child prodigy. I later realized I was merely a beginner compared to real pianists, but I still enjoyed playing the piano. Story 3. At one point I thought I was pretty savvy in Excel since I was the best at it among the people I knew. Then I met someone who really knew how to use Excel and realized I only knew the basics. Story 4. I played 8-ball and 9-ball. I had a table at home and would practice while watching television. No one could beat me. In college, I played $1 per ball. Everyone owed me money. Then I played someone who regularly entered tournaments. I was lucky if I got to shoot because he ran the table every game. Story 5. I have come to the realization that I am very mediocre at a lot of things. I can do most things, but not well. Story 6. I play guitar. I am good enough to impress most people, but I could never reach the level of a professional musician. Story 7. Everyone thinks they are a good driver. Sit alongside a professional driver as they go through a course, then try to do the same. It is humbling. Story 8. My dad likes gardening and loves his plumerias. He has about 30. He recently found a local plumeria club on Facebook and went to a meetup. He was the only one there with fewer than 100. My mother no longer complains about how many plumerias he has. Story 9. I was a really good wrestler in high school. I went to the state tournament as a freshman, placed fourth as a sophomore, second as a junior, and then won state my senior year. The summer before my senior year, my team went to a wrestling camp. My coach knew the coach of another team in another state, so we went there to practice with them for a week. I was the best wrestler on my team and beat everyone on their team as well. On the third day of camp, a guy came in to wrestle with us. I did not know who he was, but we were about the same size, so I challenged him. He completely dominated me for the next hour. I did not score a single point, and he did whatever he wanted. I later learned he was a 2-time Division II national champion in college and a 3-time All-American. I learned there are levels to the sport, and I got a massive dose of humility. Story 10. Okay, I will jump in. In my late 20s, I had never lost a single game of Scrabble. I have a large vocabulary and a talent for pattern matching, so I was always able to come up with very long words and find high-scoring bonuses to place them on. The true Scrabble players were already laughing at me. I was looking for something to do and decided to try the local Scrabble club. I will cut to the chase. I did not win a single game or pose a challenge to anyone there. Some players were annoyed to have to match up with someone as bad at Scrabble as I was. I left that night deeply humiliated but amazed, and I never went back. What I learned that night is that championship Scrabble players do not bother hunting for 150-point megascore words. They beat you by placing 3 tiles that cross-connect to form 5 different words, 3 of which are 2-letter words, and all of which somehow share the same triple-word score tile even though only 2 words can possibly use it. They score 226 points by playing those 3 tiles. It is incredible. It is as much art as science. I learned a lot about humility from that experience. Story 11. I thought I was pretty good at Tetris. People who saw me play were quite impressed. Turns out I am not that good at Tetris 99. Story 12. Ping pong. I made the mistake of playing an old man who hangs out at a bar, and he completely defeated me. It wasn't close. He returned all my best serves effortlessly and put the most extreme spin on every shot. He gave me good advice afterward and told me I play too fast for my own good. I bought him a drink and went back to my friends. Ashamed. Story 13. I won a lot of amateur mixed martial arts bouts and a few professional bouts, but then I met someone who beat me badly for 3 rounds and then submitted me with a choke. Turns out I am pretty good at it, but I am not a world champion. Story 14. Drawing and painting. One of the things they do not discuss in art school is the near-constant beatings your confidence takes. Most of them are self-inflicted. I used to teach high school art, and those kids were amazing. They should have been teaching me. Story 15. As a 23-year-old birder, it is humbling to stand beside a retired 70-year-old who can see birds where none seem to be and identify them. Story 16. Skiing. I thought I was the quickest, craving perfect parallel lines and living on the edge. The ski team zipped past me when I thought I was going fast. It turns out I am just a buffoon on 2 skis, snowplowing around ungracefully. Story 17. Guitar Hero. I never met anyone who could beat me. Then I saw a guy on YouTube play Bark at the Moon at 100% with his back to the screen, and I am done. Story 18. I build cars as a hobby. When I say I build cars, I mean I modify them cosmetically and mechanically for all forms of racing, both for myself and with my husband. My grandfather taught me everything I know about cars when I was a child, from getting dirty, oily hands while helping him as I grew up. I love all types, but my main focus is building drift cars. I taught myself how to drift and how to control my car by intentionally braking traction while still maintaining control of the power. I practiced on the many drift tracks nearby. I was able to keep the car going through sharp and long corners without spinning out or stalling, until I watched my grandfather let loose in his 1965 fastback Mustang, the car he rebuilt from junk into a prize-winning vehicle. He drove like Ken Block through every corner, almost never straightening out. I had never felt so discouraged and yet so enlightened as I did in that moment. He has a bad back now, but I miss him acting like a 20-year-old again, working on the cars he loves and doing everything he used to do while driving them. Story 19. I played in a piano competition at age 16. Back then, I fancied myself a pretty good pianist. A teenage girl went on stage, sat at the piano, and calmly amazed all the other contestants. She played Maurice Ravel's Judo and was absolutely captivating. Within about 30 seconds, we all knew she would win first prize. After a few minutes, I felt the judges should end the contest right then and there and give her the trophy. Even now, more than a decade later, I am still in awe of her. She played with such grace, dignity, and style. I only wish I knew her name. Story 20. I think I'm a pretty solid writer. Every now and then I read a novel that just makes me think, well, I love you, but also fuck you a little bit. Story 21. Tennis is the sport I grew up playing. I frequently beat most of my colleagues and even won a few tournaments. My coaches deliberately lowered their level when they played me so I would not be thrashed. There was not a lot to be learned from that. I thought they were giving their best and I was able to pull off some close scorelines. I watched the players on TV and thought the sport was pretty slow and the pros did not do much flashy stuff because they wanted to win. I believed I would reach their level in the near future. Then the pros came to my country for a tournament, and I went immediately to see Roger Federer practice in person. I was so blown away and my ego so crushed that I could not speak for a few days. After that, I was never arrogant again. Story 22. I would love to hear answers to the inverse of this question, where someone did not think much of their abilities but turned out to be a champion. Story 23. Drawing. I always think I am good at it, not God level. Then I take a look on DeviantArt and suddenly my world comes crashing down. This happens at least weekly. I laugh out loud. Edit 1. Thank you so much for the gold. Anonymous friend. I greatly appreciate your kindness. Also, thank you everyone for upvoting this comment. I am glad I made at least one person's day in the replies. Edit 2. I looked on ArtStation despite the warnings. I was actually hoping my soul would be crushed by tremendously good art, but I was too eager, so that did not happen. The art there is still tremendously good, but I did not feel super let down. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. Laughing out loud. Edit 3. I use Medibang Paint and Instagram instead. My art has improved. Story 24. I thought I was exceptionally smart. I had been in the talented and gifted program, I was a great test taker, and I got good grades. I breezed through college and earned my bachelor's degree. School had always been pretty easy for me. Then I went to law school. Everyone was older than I was, had real-life experience, and they were really smart. People asked such thought-provoking questions that I could not believe we had read the same thing. I realized that graduating from high school and earning a college degree in political science from a state school was not genius-level achievement. I had developed no study skills in the previous 21 years. My first year in law school hit me like a ton of bricks, but it all worked out. Story 25. I learned a lot about programming in college and at my first job. I switched jobs to match my skills and joined a new company. There I met a senior colleague who is incredibly talented, and I realized I have a long way to go. Story 26. Mathematics. I am a theoretical physicist, and I always thought I was pretty good at mathematics in undergraduate. Then I met the professor I work for now. One of my life goals is to become at least 3/4 as good a theoretical physicist as he is. I later met Ed Witten and read some papers by Freeman Dyson. Damn. Story 27. I learned to solve a Rubik's Cube and practiced until I could solve one in about 30 seconds. Then I saw a video of the world record at the time, which was about 4.9 seconds. That was pretty depressing for me. Story 28. Hiking. I honestly thought I would be tough, cancel my apartment lease, and go into the big wide world of Scandinavia, the Faroe Islands, and Iceland with only a backpack, sleeping outdoors. Then I met a man who had just returned from a 700-kilometer glacier hike in Greenland at -40°C. He had come to the Faroe Islands just to recover. Sadly, he became my partner and, on many occasions, showed me what my body literally could not endure, so I had to readjust my entire self-image. I eat more chocolate now. Story 29. Video games. Every time I find a game I feel I am really good at, I always find a close friend who is 100 times better than me. Story 30. I thought I was hot shit in middle school, typing 60 words per minute, until I reached high school. Some of those kids reached upwards of 150 words per minute, which made me feel small time. Story 31. Avoiding work. I thought I was good at it. Then I had children. They are another level entirely. Story 32. This happens to literally everyone who plays guitar. Pete Townsend and Eric Clapton reportedly felt devastated after seeing Jimi Hendrix. Story 33. I am a better whistler than maybe 98% of the population, but compared to a world-class whistler, I sound like a corpse fart. Edit. Holy crud. I need to come back to this when I'm not drunk. Story 34. I used to sing in the car and thought I was great until I heard my friend who took voice lessons. I still sing in the car, though. Story 35. Disc golf. I thought I was really good until I went to the World Championship. Story 36. When I was in 5th grade, I did not really have any friends. I was bullied and picked last for sports. At recess and at home, I started running because I wanted to be good at it. After a few months, I had convinced my 10-year-old self that I was a superb runner. One day in physical education class, they had us race each other. I was matched against 2 popular girls who were best friends, and I thought this was my moment and that my work would pay off and people would like me. They beat me easily. Story 37. I did not think I was really good at it, but I thought I was decent at drawing quirky cartoon versions of people and I had fun doing it. That changed when I was threatened with a ban from the Reddit community gets drawn. That was a real punch to the gut. Story 38. Playing piano. There is so much competition, and there is always an Asian student far better than you. I practice every day and have been playing for 10 years. Story 39. When I was in kindergarten, I thought I was the second fastest person in the world after my older brother. That changed when I raced a classmate who not only beat me but ran with his clothes flapping in the wind. That image stuck with me and convinced me I was not the second fastest. Story 40. Super Smash Bros. It seems like a casual Nintendo game at first, but it has a very high skill ceiling. You can be the best in your school and always manage to forestock everyone, but if you play against someone who has competed at a high level, you will notice how little you actually know about the game, even after playing it for 5,000 hours. Story 41. I thought I was really good at cup stacking. I could assemble and dismantle a tower in 30 seconds. Then I watched videos of other people. What they do is incredible. I no longer consider myself good at it. Story 42. I could create some charts and pivot tables that looked good, or so I thought, until I saw everything the Rain Man of Excel and Visual Basic could do in our office. Story 43. I love drawing and I'm the art kid at my school. I discovered that a classmate also likes drawing, so I looked at her work. Her drawings were so good that I felt jealous. Later, she found my art Instagram account and told me I should not post because she thought she was better than me. That almost crushed me, but I ignored her. Now I have been drawing for 3 years and have made a lot of progress. Story 44. I sing and work in music composition and production. Every time I feel I finally reach another level, I am humbled by the truly gifted artists out there. Hard work will pay off, though. Story 45. Guitar. I've been playing guitar for more than 30 years, so I'm very good. About 10 years ago, when I was still good, I went to a couple's place for a barbecue at the beach. I walked into the main room and a 12-year-old boy was sitting with his dad with a guitar in his lap. It was a really nice Martin, so I commented. The dad said, "Let this man play a bit, Junior, try to learn something." I'm not a show-off and I don't meet people that often, but the father was being cool about helping his son learn an instrument, so I accepted. I played a couple short tunes, some riffs and a few flashy scales at full speed without making a big deal. I didn't want to make the kid feel hopeless. He's just learning. I handed him the guitar and he absolutely shredded it like I had started playing 45 minutes ago. He wasn't showboating. When someone can play, you can tell. After 10 minutes, I picked my ego off the floor and quietly walked away, wondering where I went wrong. Thanks, kid. Story 46. I have a graduate degree in mathematics. When I started the program, I thought I was exceptional. I completed the program, but it required major effort and some luck. In my second year, there was a class on a particular topic. I handed in a 12-page proof that showed fighting spirit, but it was completely wrong. Another student submitted a 1-page solution that was correct. He continued to outpace me for the rest of the program. In that moment, I began to learn humility. Story 47. Have you ever seen someone who is exceptionally skilled at Excel? I am competent, but watching a true expert is amazing. Story 48. I have always been realistic about my skill set and live by the saying that no matter how good you are, someone is always better. The most hilarious thing I saw at work involved a man in his mid-40s who was a racquetball enthusiast. He ran his local club and played whenever possible. 2 men in their early 20s were trash-talking about how good they were and claimed they could easily beat him because they were younger and in better shape. My coworker, rightly confident in his skills, simply said that if it was 2-on-1 he would win. And he did. Not only did he beat them, they failed to score a single point against him. Story 49. When I was in my 20s, I spent a year employed as a ballroom dance instructor. All that dancing went to my head and I became convinced that I was great, maybe even really special. I went to the Copacabana in New York City ready to impress everyone with my moves. I walked in, shoulders back, the fringe on my dress swinging. I ordered a shot, knocked it back, and prepared to get a partner and head to the dance floor. They do not know what is about to hit them. I thought to myself as I readied my body to unleash my salsa moves. Then a little old couple, dressed in country clothes and each about 4 feet 10 inches tall, shuffled past me, and I heard a collective gasp from the rest of the crowd. The woman wore a gingham dress and the man was decked out in cowboy attire, complete with hat and gold-tipped boots. I stopped in my tracks for a minute to try to figure out why everyone was buzzing. Is it me? I had not even started yet. The couple suddenly burst into an array of dazzling moves and rhythm. The man and the woman moved as one, perfectly in sync and smiling the whole time. I could not believe how amazing they were, and I went back to the bar where I belonged. Story 50. I played ultimate frisbee. I thought I was amazing based on my high school gym class. Then I got to university. Story 51. When I was growing up, I used to think I would make it big as a writer. Then I began writing for a living and met people whose ability to construct creative sentences and paint images with words was so strong that reading their work felt like watching a movie. Now I am content to make a decent living from writing. Story 52. Cooking was something I loved before I met my wife. I did it intermittently because I lived with a very Anglo family who did not appreciate many spices or new flavors, but I thought I was pretty good. Then I met my wife. Her cooking makes everything I used to make look like steaming trash. I have gotten better, but the general rule now is that she cooks and I handle cleanup. Story 53. This is not a skill, but I really thought I was super intelligent until I started meeting genuinely intelligent people on the internet. Story 54. I used to think I had interesting things to say. Then I started saying them on Reddit. Story 55. Writing smut. I got into smut a while back and was constantly disappointed with what I was reading online for free, so I started writing my own and posting it to a few places. No, I am not saying where. I received good feedback and encouragement, so I wrote some short stories for publication and sold them online. I gained a decent following, enough to scrape by while I was unemployed, but it was not career-level income. I was surprised, considering what I had seen online, until I read works for sale by some of the bigger authors. The difference was night and day. It turned out the free material was not that good. The people who are skilled at it figure out how to get paid. I considered improving my writing, but the allure faded and I grew bored of erotic fantasy. It was affecting my burgeoning sex life, so I closed up shop and got a real job. Story 56. It was not until I joined the district band that the first chair completely outperformed everyone else. Story 57. I excelled at my small suburban ballet school and was one of the top students at the city performing arts school. After moving to a larger city and a more competitive ballet school, my new classmates were child prodigies who have since become professionals with major companies. Story 58. It feels bad to think this, but I feel my art lacks style. I draw many subjects. Still life, cartoons, animals, scenery, realism, semi-realism, and people from reference. I will call this person G. I realized they were much better than me at spontaneous drawing, and they realized it before I did. For a year and a half they organized draw-offs to see who was best. I won maybe 3 out of the 15. This happened in 9th grade. For the competitions, she posted both artworks on the library window and used makeshift drop boxes for anonymous voting. We counted the votes and had a teacher or library staff recount to be sure. Almost every time she received about 150 more votes than I did. Each vote ticket had a back so people could comment. Many of the comments said things like, "Honestly, I just felt bad because it is lacking so much. You can do better, but here is a vote anyway." Or, "Only voting because I know the other will win." Those remarks really hurt my self-esteem about my art. I am a senior now. My art has improved, but my view of my art has not. Story 59. Reading. I thought I knew how to read and that was it. Then I went to college and realized that professors truly know how to read, and I was humbled to discover that a skill we assume people either have or do not have is actually a very dynamic and complex ability that we humans can perform. Story 60. I always think I am a great poet, read as rhymer, until I read a comment from Poem for Your Sprog. Then I just want to die in a hole. Story 61. Speed skating, the kind on ice and on wheels. I was pretty damned good as a teenager. I placed competitively in local meets and regionals. Then I went to nationals and was completely smoked by the real athletes, and I was not even mad. I was in awe of what the human body can do with the right genes. The older men in my club whom I looked up to and thought were near the pinnacle of the sport were chumps next to those monsters. I hung up my skates and never competed again, because without a hint of defeatism I can say I would never reach that level. There was no use in spending many thousands of dollars on gear and travel to stay in the competitive circuit knowing I had peaked. I am still one of the toughest dad bod speed skaters at your local rink, however. Life goals. Story 62. When I was 16, I could beat any of the early computerized chess programs. So I joined the school chess club. In my first game, A 12-year-old beat me with a fool's mate. I had never seen it. Story 63. I'm a pretty good competitive climber. If I walk into a gym and start working on problems, I'm good enough that people will stop to say hello and work on problems with me. At some of the smaller gyms, I can typically send 80% of the bouldering wall in one day. Locally, I did pretty well in a few competitions. I won some and lost some. Then I trained with someone who was number 2 in the nation and I thought, oh, I'm not even close to his level. Don't get me wrong. There are people better than me. But most of the time I can see their level as achievable if I were more dedicated, worked harder, and didn't have a job. The gap between me and this guy was so massive I didn't even think people got that strong. The worst part was that he was a student pursuing a Doctor of Philosophy degree in engineering. Story 64. Chess. When I was in elementary school, I thought I was awesome. My parents got me chess magazines to encourage me, and I even won a local youth tournament and placed highly in several others. Then I started playing ranked tournaments with adults and only rarely won a match. I think I won 2 or 3 games in half a dozen tournaments. A grandmaster told me I was at the skill level where I would basically have to start memorizing hundreds of openings and endgames to get much better, so I stopped playing competitively. I am not good at memorization. Now I prefer strategy games with chance involved so that strategy comes into play before you memorize books of information. Story 65. One advantage of meeting someone who is better than you at a skill is that you have a great opportunity to learn and improve. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.